Hello, wonderful Sibme supervisors. My name is Kelly Garris, and I am one of Sibme's virtual coaching managers. Welcome to this short informational video about building context around the virtual coaching of teachers. So whenever you have your planning meeting with a Sibme virtual coaching manager, you have a better understanding of our process. As you watch this short video narrated by Kelly Pittman, one of our assistant directors of Sibme Virtual Coaching, please jot down any notes you may have. Feel free to contact Kelly with any questions. I will share her contact information at the end of this video.
Well, thank you, Kelly, and welcome administrators and supervisors. I look forward to the prospect of working with each of you as you support your teachers in their professional learning goals and impacting their students' learning. So I want to share with you the coaching philosophy for Sibme here. We agree with Kim Green when she says to improve instructional practices and student outcomes, every teacher, no matter their experience level, deserves a coach. You see here on the screen the major components of the 6-week personalized coaching cycle. Looking here at the left, you see that we can start with those weekly one-on-one 45-minute coaching meetings on Zoom with the Sibme coach and the teacher that's receiving the coaching. And in between those meetings, there's some asynchronous work that goes along with sharing of video recordings of the implementation for strategies that are being coached and the discussions, the fruit of that discussion, and the recordings will receive online feedback from the Sibme coach. Then the Sibme coach will also share and review those goal-related resources to keep the growing going. And then at the end of each meeting, the Sibme coach will share a weekly coaching report with the teacher being coached. So it will summarize the meeting as well as offer an action plan for those recordings to happen, the strategies to implement, the resources to read, and those coaching reports are CC'd to you and to Sibme management so that you can see the progress of the coaching cycle throughout the 6 weeks. One more thing I want to show you here on this slide, I've squeezed it in at the bottom. On the 3rd week of the coaching cycle, the Sibme coach will offer an AI report using Sibme's AI feature. This is only if the teacher's goal, here we go, finally pops up. If the teacher's goal correlates with any of these AI reports that we've selected here. So if your teacher has an engagement goal, having something to do with teacher talk versus student talk, this AI report might lend itself to the discussion that they're having on the teacher's success or needed growth. There's also AI reports available for questions distribution, closed and open-ended, cold call versus choral response. And then for a more general report, but still another voice in that conversation might be the AI report offering a lesson summary with lesson key points. So keep that in mind. For week 3 from the Sibme coach. I wanted to show you this screen so that you could get a sneak peek of what the Sibme platform looks like for your teachers. As they're being coached, this video is getting shared in the secure platform, and it gets shared with the Sibme coach, where here you can see Allison and I. Allison is my coach in this scenario, and I am the teacher being coached, and she is offering timestamp feedback throughout the video that is shared here of my instruction. Then we can opt for a 3rd pane to show up. Now, often we'll just be looking at the 2 panes with the video and the comments, but a 3rd pane is also an option to share a lesson plan for what that video might be showing, or a resource that's shared either by the teacher with an idea or the coach that has something that goes along with what's being shared in the video. So I wanted you to have that view. But this talks a little bit about how we begin the process. And we begin with our expectations, those roles and responsibilities of all the stakeholders in the coaching cycle. So you're thinking about, what is Sibme management doing? What will you be doing? Oh, that's a little bit crazy. Here we go. And the virtual coach, what will the virtual coach be doing? And then finally, what will the teacher being coached be responsible for? We call those teachers the coachee. So if we start, first of all, right now, I'm taking care of this full first bullet. I'm trying to communicate with you an overview of the virtual coaching process. And I will, the coaching management will also take a hold of those teacher request forms and assign the appropriate Sibme coach, thinking about relevant background information and the handoff goals that come with that request. The coaching management will also review those weekly reports so that we can see the success of the coaching cycle throughout and review any survey data that's submitted. What do we want to have you doing during this coaching cycle? I would like for you to consider meeting with the teacher to discuss the purpose and process and philosophy of Sibme's virtual coaching, and then have a conversation with the teacher being coached about the 2 to 3 handoff goals and the completing the supervisor information form. I'll get to that here in a minute. And then, of course, you'll be able to look at those weekly coaching reports, since you'll be CC'd and can monitor the success of the cycle as well. If you have any questions, then you know that you can contact Sibme Management. Well, the Sibme Virtual Coach has some things to do, of course. We're looking at meeting weekly and sharing that Zoom link and hosting that meeting, assigning and providing the timestamp feedback on the snapshot videos that the coachee will be sharing, providing that weekly goal-related resource or resources to continue supplementing information for their discussions and the teacher's growth, and then completing those coaching reports that are shared. The Sibme coach will also request that the coachee complete those 2 surveys that get reviewed over here. And finally, the Sibme coach will email you at the end of the cycle. Then the teacher being coached, the coachee, should meet with you to understand the purpose and the process and philosophy of the coaching cycle, and then have some autonomy in those handoff goals so that they are meaningful in the work that they are doing with their Sibme coach. Then they'll submit the teacher information form. I'll show you one in a minute. And during the cycle, the teacher will be reviewing those resources provided by the Sibme coach, attending the weekly meetings, sharing those 2 videos per week as they are assigned. And if there's the need to reschedule a coaching meeting, giving their Sibme coach 24 hours notice is a professional courtesy that we expect. Also, responding to any communication from the Sibme coach, and then, of course, completing those surveys so that we can improve the cycle system or address any concerns. Well, there we have the roles and responsibility, but we've mentioned this a couple of times. I want you to see the resource we have here suggesting some of the handoff goals that you might consider in that conversation that you're having with your teachers being coached. These suggestions fall into 3 categories: generally classroom environment and management, pedagogy, and content. Your teacher also has access to this form in their teacher information form. But first, let's take a quick look at the supervisor information form. This is where you are asked, here we go, get a little better. This is where you are asked to share the email addresses of the teachers that you intend to be coached. And then those email addresses, once that's submitted, will trigger each teacher to get their teacher information form that looks like this. Of course, there's a little more information needed, but it does come pre-populated with your information so the teacher knows that this all started with you. And then filling in their name, phone number, of course, the current role and grades and subjects. But here's where we get to that goals section that I talked about, and they have access to that same handoff goal form so that those goals can be entered in this field. This section is the coaching agreement. This is kind of the bulleted points from that roles and responsibilities form that we already went over, asking the coachee to agree to these terms of committing for the 6 weeks, 45-minute meetings that can be a focused conversation, and looking at the 24 hours notice if there needs to be a rescheduling. So things like that. And then finally getting to the exact date of starting the coaching cycle and the day and time for those meetings every week. So once that is submitted, then consider allowing the 3 days that are necessary for the coaching match to happen. So once the teacher submits this form, this coaching cycle will not be able to start for at least 7 days so that there is time for the match to happen, which is based on the grade level, the goals, the time of the day the teachers requested. And I want to point out, we do have coaching available from 7 a.m. to 7 or 8 p.m. Central Time, 7 days a week. But once that match is made, then the emails start to go. Your teacher will receive an email from Sibme manager, kind of welcoming them to the coaching cycle. And then, of course, the Sibme coach will send an email with their introduction and the link to the Zoom meetings. And finally, there will be a Sibme platform email that invites the teacher to activate their Sibme account so that those videos and that feedback can all be handled in a secure space. When the coaching begins, it's a continuous improvement cycle. So identifying those goals and the success criteria for those goals will happen, seeing those videos, giving that glimpse of the current reality in the classroom. Coaching happens with learning new strategies and making a plan for implementation, and then more videos to monitor and observe the success and reflect on the growth so that we can get back to the goals again and take it around and around for the 6-week cycle. What can you expect from us? We will promptly respond to your questions or emails. You will also, like I've said several times, get CC'd on coaching reports that look something like this. This one's not filled in, obviously, but there's a place for the goals, and you can see the success criteria. And this kind of grows throughout the coaching cycle as the cycle continues to go. Dates of meetings, and then this is something you'll pay attention to for this report's meeting date. You'll have a summary here, a bulleted summary of the meeting, and then the action plan for the teacher from the coach to participate in throughout the week, and listing all of the goal-related resources to discuss. What else? Let's see, you'll have the end of the cycle email from the Sibme coach to you, and then the teacher will receive a Sibme certificate and a Sibme digital badge. So here's where I look forward to answering your questions in our next meeting when we get to meet online, and making plans for the next steps in getting your teachers started in their coaching cycles. This also includes my information here somewhere. We can get it to stay still. And thank you for your kind attention. Kelly?
Thank you, Kelly, and thank you, Sibme principals and supervisors, for your time. We look forward to having your planning meeting so we can get started scheduling coaches. Should you have any questions, do not hesitate to reach out to Kelly. Her email is kellyp@sibme.com. Thank you.